So we always like to wait for a few minutes to let people log on and do all of that stuff, but still, let's begin with good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. It is February the 17th. I do believe it's February the 17th of, it's February, I'm losing it. I'm losing it. Chris, I'm losing it.
2022, I think, is where you were headed.
Something, no, I wasn't. I was thinking February, the 17th of February.
Okay.
No, I'd love to be able to tell you that I was smart enough to say 2022, as most people would, but no, I was thinking it is February the 17th of February. Yes, right
I
then, all
gotcha.
right then. And you see, I am slightly losing it. Now, good morning, everybody. First of all, before we begin, I'd like to say, gosh, perhaps nobody's logged on yet. Perhaps we'll be good. Perhaps I will get away with that little faux pas. So,
Except that we record this.
oh, fiddlesticks. We do, don't we? Well, that's all right. Look, I've never claimed to be anything other than human. So, before we go any further, I'd first of all like to say good morning to my spirit guide, Grey Eagle. Excuse me. Who is, as always, by my side and by my right side. And I would also like to say good morning, Chris. Good morning, good morning.
Good morning, Rosemary. And you know what? I think we all do exactly what you just did at some point in our day.
February the 17th of February, or yeah, losing it. Yeah, I've occasionally caught myself, the drawer that I put my keys in is right next to the drawer where I put my garbage. It's some, on a very rare occasion, I'll find myself going to, because they're so close together, I find myself opening the garbage to put the keys in. I've so far managed to stop myself from doing that. But yeah, um, if there comes a day when I find my purse in the refrigerator, I will know that I have officially lost it. Until then, I'm going to go blithely on and pretend that I'm, what is it, old timers disease. I'm going to pretend until I find my purse in the refrigerator or somewhere weirdly obscure. I'm going to just pretend that there's absolutely nothing wrong with the way my mind works. Anyway, so, yes, all right. So we are still celebrating the month of love. And as I promised, I told a story. I'm going to tell a story, a little bit of a story, excuse me, this morning. Um, about, we were talking, I think, last week about our first love. And I think I brought my teddy on to show you my first love was my teddy bear. Um, uh, I'd also love it. We'd also love it, right, Chris? If you were all to share some of the things that you love. It can be food, it can be people, it can be whatever you want. It can be love of tennis. I don't know why that sort of popped into my head, but what are the things that you love? We would love, see, I would love to know, we would love to know what things about your life, what are the things, what about your memories? What are the things in your memory that you loved? So I'm going to tell a little story. It's a reminder. Some of you will have heard me tell this story before, but I'm going to tell this little story because I have to, because it is the sort of the backdrop to one of the things that as a child I loved, and as an adult, all of these so many years later, yes, I'm getting to be old and not quite decrepit, but getting, to be older and I'm not sure wiser, but anyway. So when I was a little girl, on a couple of occasions, my mother would put me into the children's home, the orphanage. Uh, I was not an orphan, obviously. I had my parents, but when things maybe got a bit tough for my mother, or when circumstances, I don't know what those circumstances were, but you know, we'd we I wouldn't say we, because it wasn't we. As far as I'm aware, my younger sister never went to the orphanage. Um, my the sister next up from me uh, did. I remember her being in there once with me. And you know, we'd stay there. It might be for a few weeks or a few months, or maybe even a little bit longer than that. But anyway, um, before you all start feeling sorry for me being shoved into an orphanage. And the word shoved, I do mean shoved in. I really do mean that, because I suppose I was the expendable one. I was the one that my mother liked the least. I don't know that she ever really liked me. I think she was more afraid of me, because I was just like my grandmother, my mother's mother, who everyone knew that Grandma Eliza was crazy, because Grandma Eliza used to hear voices. And from time to time, poor Grandma Eliza would put herself voluntarily into the towers. Any of you doing research into the city of Leicester in England will see the towers. The building, I think, still stands. I think it might even still be a mental institution. I have to check that out, but I think it still is. You know, my grandmother Eliza was a voluntary patient in the towers from time to time, and the voices would come on really strongly. She would, you know, couldn't take it any longer, and it would drive her crazy, and off she'd go, and she'd put herself into the asylum, and there she'd stay. You know, in those years, I cannot say to you that my grandmother had electric shock treatment and all of that, because I've no idea. But in those days, that was the treatment if you were crazy, you know, all of those many years ago. Anyway, Grandma Eliza died when I was 6 weeks old, and as I was growing up, my mother saw in me the same traits that she'd seen in her own mother. And on a fairly regular basis, as I was growing up and even into my teen years, but when I was a little girl, she would uh, on a fairly regular basis say to me, if you're not careful, she would point the finger at me. If you're not careful, you'll end up in the towers like your grandma. And of course, when I was a little girl, I had no idea what the towers was. I hadn't a clue. But I know it was somewhere I didn't want to be, because my mother would use it as a threat. And, you know, and the implication was, and even though I didn't quite understand or was not able to verbalize when I was a kid, even so, the implication was that there was something very wrong with me. Because otherwise, why would they put me, they being whoever knew, why would they put me in the towers? And what was the towers anyway? But the implication was there was something very, very dreadfully wrong with me. And if I didn't behave in the way that everybody thought I should, I'd end up in the towers. And anyway, so it was where is this leading me? So so as I was growing up, I'm sort of trying to give you the impression. I had 3 sisters and 2 brothers. My 2 brothers were way older and had left home by the time I was 5 or something. Anyway, and I was definitely the least favorite. With my mother. My father was mostly in the army at the time, and so here I was in the children's home. From time to time, I was put in the orphanage, out of the way, and I was a very shy and a very timid child. You probably don't believe that, but I was very shy and very timid all the way up to being about 16 or 17 years old. But as a child, I was a very nervous child. I was very timid. I would never speak up. I would never speak out. Anyway, here I am in the orphanage, and in the orphanage, in the dining room of the orphanage, they had these big round tables that probably seated about 12 kids and one of the teachers or something like that, you know, those. So there were several tables like that. Lots of kids in this orphanage. Anyway, so uh, every day was the same. We'd go to school, we'd have to do chores. Peeling potatoes was something that I remembered. I mean, when you're 6 years old or 5 years old or something, peeling potatoes, it's kind of. I remember the thing that sticks in my mind is this big white enamel bucket filled to the brim with potatoes that had been peeled, and there we would sit peeling more and more potatoes. Anyway, so we all had our chores to do and so on. So this particular morning, I woke up, got dressed, went down to the dining room, and it was a pretty much of a ritual. If anybody had a birthday, you know, they would the headmistress of the school or whoever she was would call out the name of the kid. The kid would have to stand by their chair, and then they would be called forward to receive a birthday gift. Pretty nice, right? Anyway, unbeknownst to me, and really unbeknownst to me, it was my birthday. This particular morning, my name was called. Please stand up by your chair. And I stood up, and then everybody sang happy birthday to me, which was, that had never happened to me before. So that was pretty amazing. And then I was called to the front where the headmistress stood, and I was presented with a birthday gift, um, all wrapped up in paper and looking really very nice. And I was astounded because this was my very first ever birthday gift. I didn't have a birthday gift from my parents until I was 11 years old, and that was by default. I'll tell you another time about that story, but it wasn't really a birthday gift. It was well, it was a gift of guilt. We are getting sidetracked. Anyway, so no birthday gifts for me. Now, my youngest sister had a birthday party once. We never had birthday parties, but she had a birthday party, and she would get birthday gifts. And as we got older, my older sisters would get birthday gifts, but no, you, poor me, right? Have you got the violins out now? Now, this story is not meant for you to feel sorry for me, because actually it was the best thing, really. Uh, because as you often hear me saying, my parents taught me how not to be, and I was very fortunate in having that example, because my child, my grandchild, they never go without a birthday gift or a Christmas gift, and we have parties for them all the time. So, you know, so it's good when if things happen to you that are bad when you're a kid, you can do one of two things. You can then, you know, sort of do the same thing to your own kids, or you can know how it feels and how hurt you feel and how painful it is to grow up this way, and you can make absolutely certain that you don't ever put that hurt or that pain onto somebody else. So here we are, and all of these kids, most of whom I don't know, it's a big orphanage, all of the kids are singing happy birthday to me, and then I am presented with my very first birthday gift, and I unwrap it, and I am astounded, I am amazed, I am in awe, because it's my first birthday gift anyway, and it's beautiful to me. Now I'm going to show you this birthday gift, and I have to tell you that I've had it cleaned up. I've had it sent away to be stitched and cleaned up. They couldn't do a lot with it, but if you also remember, I treat my toys carefully. So what I'm going to show you now is pretty much how it came to me. Maybe slightly more worn and obviously a little bit more faded. But my Daisy, as ugly as you will see in a minute, as ugly as she was when I tore that paper away and saw her, as ugly as this doll was, she was beautiful to me. She was, because, wow, I mean, she was, because she was, this really, for me, she was mine. And as ugly as you could imagine a doll could be, Daisy was probably ugly. Are you ready? Are you waiting? Are you, now keep bated breath now? Ready? Ready? Hello, Daisy. Hello. And here she is. Isn't she cute? Isn't she? Yes. She's always been green, and she's always sort of had a sort of a dirty face. You know, when people give toys to the orphanage now, these days, you're not allowed to give toys unless they come in boxes or unless they're new. But years ago when I was a kid, we, orphanages got all the used toys, and we kids in the orphanage, we used to love them. Her, you can see that it's a bit sort of worn on there, and on her legs, and I think she had a little tear in there somewhere. But she's, oh, at the back there, I don't know if you can see that, poor little Daisy. But she's been dry cleaned. What do you think, Chris? Do you like my Daisy?
What I'd like, I'm going to say this a different way. So a little 6-year-old who can hug and snuggle something as soft and cuddly as that,
Well, she's not
that must
actually
have been
that.
amazing.
She's not really that soft, but yeah.
No?
She. But the thing is that she was mine. She was all for me, and as really sort of ugly. See the frills there? They were never great. And she was somebody's old treasured doll, and then she became my old treasured doll, and I keep her now in a basket with my teddy, with and with a couple of other things, with my doll Susan. Somewhere there's a Jennifer. I'll have to look for Jennifer in the garage. She's probably in a trunk somewhere in the garage. But anyway, so Teddy was my first love, and Daisy doll was my second love. And all of these hundreds of years later, feels like 100 years, all these hundreds of years later, here she is. She's not at all attractive. I doubt very much if any kid coming into my house and seeing Daisy would say, oh yeah, can I have that doll? I doubt if anybody really would want to, but she is the memories of me holding this doll, the memories of me having this doll in the children's home, where we didn't get much. There wasn't a lot of, we didn't, you know, but imagine, I mean, I could have been one of those kids who lived all the time in the children's home. And so how fortunate was I that I only had that small experience. But again, all of these experiences, even though they perhaps don't last very long, all these experiences teach us something. And it taught me, looking at all those kids, and of course, in retrospect, you look back at all those kids that were in the orphanage, um, you know, uh, they didn't have a lot, but we all made the best of what we had. And the older kids used to terrify the younger kids. They used to, we'd all sit for dinner at night, and the older kids would tell us awful stories. And I remember once some kid telling us about the green hand that would, sort of come along, and it was dripping blood and long nails and dripping blood. And when you were when you were when you were in bed at night, the green hand would come, and I was terrified of that green hand for years, I have to say. Kids can be a bit cruel, can't they? But this is love. It's ugly. It's not pretty in any regard. But isn't that love? What is it that you've had in your life that you've loved, even though it was perhaps ugly or not at all as you imagined that love might be? There are so many different types of love, aren't there? And I think it's a perfect time to say, I remember saying years ago to a beau of mine, who had lots and lots of problems. I remember saying to him, love is like a weed. It will grow anywhere for any reason. I mean, look at Daisy. It will grow for any reason at all. It doesn't need a reason. It will grow through concrete. A weed will grow in the most unexpected places. Um, it's an amazing thing. Love is an amazing thing. It weaves its way through concrete, through stone, through anything and everything. It's just a teeny little bit of encouragement. And even if you don't encourage it, love is like a weed. It'll just pop up when you least expect it. But I remember saying to my beau, and I'll say to all of you too, even even a weed, if you really work hard at it, if you really, really try, you can even kill a weed. So love is strong, love is powerful. It will grow anywhere and everywhere. It will take the wind, the rain, the snow, and still it will come up. Just like the weed, it will grow tall, it will grow strong. It's an amazing thing. But even if you neglect it, it's still there. But if you try really, really, really hard, and so many people do, unfortunately, because we don't realize how valuable that weed is until we've lost it, do we? We don't realize how precious it is until we've lost it. If you try really, really hard, you can even kill a weed. Right, Chris?
I'm also reminded when you say how ugly Daisy is of your meditation tape. Not perfect, yet
Not
still
perfect,
beautiful.
but yes, still beautiful. Yeah. Yes, that's an amazing thing. I remember walking out of my house. I was going for a walk, and I was walking up the driveway, and I was feeling very sad and very low and very lonely. And as I'm walking along, a butterfly started to spin around and around and around and flutter. You know how that does. And I stood very, very still, and I watched this butterfly. And at some point, the butterfly landed just right there, and I looked down. It was the most beautiful thing. And then I looked down, and I saw that one of its wings was very badly torn. And I heard Grey Eagle say, not perfect, but yet still beautiful. And that's how we are seen. We're seen like by the spirit world like that. We're not perfect. Poor old Daisy. I mean, look at poor old Daisy. Daisy is not perfect, but she's still beautiful to me. So let's hear what people have to say about all of that, Chris.
Okay. Well, when you had first asked about what are the things that you love, a few people mentioned some things in the chat room. Judith says, I love being out communing with nature and animals. I feel elevated and at one with everything.
Right.
Um, Suzanne says, I love that Daisy came to you and she gave and gives you so much love.
Yeah.
Judith says, when I was a young child, I had a tiny tears doll and its
Oh,
eyes fell out. I said
oh,
it was my blind baby, and I
oh.
remember loving it even more.
Yeah. Nice. Very nice. I love that.
And then, let's see. Cheryl says, I love walking on the beach, driving to see new places, and bicycling.
Okay.
Sherry Lynn is asking for healing. So please, can we send a prayer for my friend Denise, who passed away yesterday?
Absolutely, we can. Yes, yes. And prayers to you too, my darling, because it's tough, isn't it, when we lose someone, especially when we lose someone we love. There's that word again. That's someone that we love. So yes, we'll absolutely send prayers to her. But I think Gregor is putting his hand on my shoulder. I think she's fine. It's those of us who are left behind, isn't it, who struggle so. Keep going, Chris.
All right. Eric saying his birthday is on February 23rd, so we won't be
Oh.
on Saturday. This might be your only chance to sing for him.
Wait a minute. Is the 23rd this coming Saturday? It is it? Yeah.
Today's
All
the
right, Eric.
17th.
Are you asking for a birthday song? It's the
Yes.
cough, though. It gets in the way. So if you don't mind the sort of croaky voice and the cough, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, my darling Eric. Happy birthday to you, and many more, and have a wonderful day. And what you're going to do, tell us what you're going to do. Walking on the beach sounds like a good plan to me, and a nice barbecue, maybe. Just a suggestion. Chris.
Yes, definitely. Judith says, all of us over 50 have done it. I deal with it daily. And she's talking about how you started the show.
All right. The old timers, yeah. Yes.
Pamela says she has a lifelong love of horses and riding. Her
Oh,
horse
nice.
Doc is her angel. Of course, love my family and friends too.
I like that name for a horse, Doc. I think that's a great name.
All right, then Andrew's here. He says, following up to a chat from a previous show. Let's see. An estranged daughter, Megan and I have reconnected.
I
She
remember that. You
she
were
has
planning
also
on phoning.
she has also spoken to my daughter Andrina and son Harvey and exchanged numbers.
Oh, that's great. You see, Andrew, reaching out, isn't it great? It's great. I mean, it may have been one of those didn't work moments, but aren't you thrilled that you had the courage to just reach out there? And I bet your family are thrilled too. So I'm so very proud of you. Good job. Good job.
All right. Betta says, in just a few months, my life has changed for the better. I've met some really wonderful people who are helping me to realize my dreams. I wonder if my dear grandparents know it and are proud.
Better. You're asking the road you already know. Of course, you know that they're watching you, and of course, you know that they're proud of you because you really did have to make an effort, didn't you, to sort of get out and about there and put yourself out and make yourself a little bit vulnerable. So good for you. And of course, they're proud. Yes, of course.
All right, so Andrew's mentioning that he has just received his book, Angels in Training. It
Uh
arrived
oh.
yesterday.
Oh, yay, good.
He says it's a very comprehensive and practical book, although I have only had a chance to skim through it so far.
Okay. Well, it
Uh,
is very practical. Yeah. It tells you
you,
exactly what you need to do, right, Chris?
yes, you and I were talking about this just before we went on, that this is
Yeah.
week 7 for those of the people who started at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
And week 7's is sending love notes.
Well, I've sent love notes. I sent a birthday card with a love note in it to my grandson. And I have some love notes waiting here because my grandson and my daughter are coming hopefully tomorrow, if weather permits and the planes take off and the storms don't prevent anything. We're keeping our fingers crossed that the trip will be uneventful in that way. So they'll be arriving tomorrow afternoon, and I'm going to go to pick them up at the airport. And when he comes back, of course, we're going to have a second birthday. We have a very special birthday gift for him. On Friday night, we may actually do an off the cuff so that he can show you his birthday gift. We're all getting very excited here. Anyway, so watch for us on Friday night because we'll probably be doing an off the cuff, and he'll be proudly presenting uh, whatever he wants to present. Anyway, so moving forward with that. So, and I also, of course, have written Valentine's, put little notes in there. So I've been writing love notes this week too. So it's appropriate that it's been Valentine's Day. And even, sometimes even if we don't know someone very well, just to send a little note, a little love note to your neighbor saying it's Valentine's Day and I just want to say that I'm really thrilled that you're my neighbor. Even if you don't know them very well, wouldn't it be nice for you to receive something like that? So, get to it, everyone. Okay, Chris.
Tracy says, what is ugly to one person is beautiful to another.
Yes, well, I had many years ago, I had a puppy whose name was Karma. I had him when he was 6 weeks old. I know that you shouldn't move away from your puppies away from their parents until they're 8 weeks old, but this happened to be a sort of an unusual situation. And he was gorgeous, and he was beautiful. Of course, as he grew older, he became very smelly, really, really smelly. He was a King Charles Cavalier. He just couldn't help it. He just was a stinky dog. He also was very cross-eyed. One of his eyes sort of went in like that. He was the ugliest thing you could possibly imagine. You see these beautiful dogs and you say, "Oh, cute, how beautiful." Never this one. You could never say that he was cute because he was cross-eyed and smelly, and you couldn't get within 6 inches of him without, sort of having that stench. It didn't matter how many times we bathed him or what have you. And the only solution to it eventually was for me to just keep his hair as short and close cropped as I possibly could, which is what I ended up doing. But it was so funny because I didn't care how smelly he was and how ugly he was. We used to cuddle anyway. It just didn't bother me whatsoever. So yes, ugly is in the eye of the beholder, isn't it? Chris.
Eric says, actually, Daisy is kind of cute in a weird way, but I'm a little different.
Oh, I think she's very cute. What can I tell you?
All right. For Bridget, who is one of our bottom brickers, she says, top of the list is I love laughter.
Oh, Bridget, me too. Me too. But I have a very British sense of humour. Those of you who are listening who are British, you will know what I mean. We laugh at the weirdest things and we love bathroom humour. We love being sarcasm is it's not really sarcasm the way we use it, but it sounds to lots of people as if we're being very sarcastic or very rude. We insult our friends. The friendlier we are, the more we love them, the more we insult them, and they insult us back. But yeah, I agree with you. Laughter is what makes the world go round. Absolutely.
She says she loves hearing it, experiencing it, and everything about it.
Good. Great.
All right. Natalie's asking, do you see a new job on the horizon for me?
If you want a new job and you go after a new job, don't expect it to come to you. You've got to go and put yourself out there. Then absolutely you will have a new job. And Greg is nodding away there saying Natalie, you can't wait for things to come to you. You've got to go, get up, get out there, reach out. And it's very much easier than it used to be. I remember when I was 14 years old, you were allowed in England to get a job, a part-time job, when you were 14 and a half. And I wasn't really 14 and a half, but my friend was. So I went with her and we pounded the streets and we pounded the streets. We had to walk from one store to the next store. And Leicester City is a big city. It took us hours and our feet were sore. And so you don't have to do any of that anymore. She did get a job, but I was too young, so I didn't. But still, you don't have to do the pounding on the street anymore. You can just sit in your chair, get on your computer and search, but keep on searching, Natalie, because otherwise the answer will be no, you won't get a new job. But if you put yourself out there and you open yourself up to new possibilities, all will be yours.
Cheryl says, I didn't have any toys that I loved in particular, although I did have some toys I enjoyed for a time, but they burnt up in a house fire.
Oh, I'm sorry about that, my darling. Um, well, you know what? I think we're better for it in so many ways, don't you think? We are better for it. I mean, we are absolutely, you know, adversity uh, really can help us to grow and really teaches us something. I'll give you a little indication of how my mother's mind worked. As I said to you earlier, there were four girls, we four sisters, and we were 2 years apart. My youngest sister and I were sort of 18 months apart, but still, we were all sort of roughly 2 years apart. And every Friday, every Friday evening, um, we would get comics, paper comics, you know, like the Dandy and the whatever it is. Anyway, you know what a paper comic is, and we would get them mailed through. They would come through the door, and there were always three comics. Now, if you were a nice mum, a sensible mum, you would have put two comics through the door. The older two would have them first, and the younger two would then have them second. When you put three comics through the door and there are four girls, you do know what's going to happen, don't you? You know that there's fighting and squabbling, and well, she had it first last week, and well, she had it this week, and so on. And you know that the majority of the time, because I was the shy one and never putting myself forward, my sisters would read the comics first and then I would read them. But you know what? That's fine. It was the mentality of my mother creating issues where there needn't have been issues. So, you know, we have to look to see why we didn't have the toys, or when we did have, you know, what was the motive behind them, and so on. And so many people have been, let's say, poisoned or damaged because of the parenting. And I'm not a perfect parent either. I'm sure I did many things wrong with my daughter. You know, parenting is an odd thing. So, you know, we can look back and we say we didn't have this and we didn't have that and poor us, or we can say, you know what, we didn't have this and this, so I'm going to make sure. And I made sure with my daughter. I remember when I was carrying her, sitting on, sitting on the sofa, not being able to move, not being able to go anywhere, full 9 month bed rest. And I remember sitting there thinking, what can I give to my daughter? What is the most precious thing that I can ever give to her? And it wasn't, as you might think, to love her. It was the knowledge. I had to give her the knowledge so that she understood without a doubt that the one person in her life she may not like from time to time, she may resent from time to time. We all do that with our mothers, don't we? But she absolutely knows all of these years later that without a doubt she is she and Reese are my number one priority, that I will always love her. And she may have had doubts about, you know, the way that I brought her up, and she may have criticisms about some of the things that I did, but the one doubt she never will have is that she is well loved. And I think we, all of us as parents, we need to make sure that our children have the knowledge that they know without one shadow of doubt that they are well loved. Chris.
It reminds me, I've done a lot of reflection this past week, especially since Valentine's Day was here. Um, and a lot of people get proposed to on Valentine's Day, or there's a lot of weddings on Valentine's Day. But I think, especially in this community, Rosemary, where so many people have lost someone, and that's why they want to hear what you have to say, um, I would reflect upon a smile is so much worth it's worth so much more than,
Yeah.
the best engagement ring or birthday gift or Christmas gift or whatever you have. Once you've lost somebody, you just miss their presence, you miss their smile, you miss conversations. So, I think
and
gratitude
and
really.
Chris, and you miss their love notes too.
Yes. I think gratitude is one thing we can all deploy, um, in helping us realize what we have sitting right in front of us so that we don't miss out on the good that's in our lives currently.
I think that, especially with COVID, with everything that's been going on the last couple of years, I think so many people have become so negative and looking at life, how awful it's been, how terrible it's been, you know, oh, finally got away on holiday, but we haven't had a holiday, all these years and blah, blah. And let's not focus on what we don't have. Let's not focus on what we couldn't do, because that takes us down that road of negativity, and it makes us unhappy, and it makes us miserable. I think it can teach us so, so very much. I think that so many people have been complacent over the years, these good years that we've had the last, let's say, 20 years or even 30 years, where, so many good things have happened, and so, there's so much, we have TV, we have microwaves. We didn't have that. I didn't grow up with a microwave, and I didn't have a microwave when my daughter was growing up. I mean, gosh, microwave. Well, there weren't such things, and then when they were, we couldn't afford them, and TVs, and the DVD players, and all of these things that we've had, and I think there's been such complacency, and we've taken so much for granted over the years, and it's almost as if that all these amazing things have become our right. Well, everybody has a television, don't they? Because isn't it their right to have a television? Everybody has a DVD player. Of course, they've gone by the wayside, I think. But I think it's been in a way, if we look to see the positive side of what's going on, I think it's a wake up call, because boy, oh boy, we have had it good. And instead of thinking, oh, these last 2 years have been really awful, think about all the good things that we've had, and move forward to know that we're going to have those good things again. Well, most of us have got them anyway, but let's focus on the positives of life, and let's focus on, what we love about this life. Love, love, love. Let's focus on what we love about our lives, rather than focusing on what we've not got and what we don't have and what could happen if, in a negative sense. How about positively saying, what could happen if this, or something really good could come of this? So let's endeavor to be positive.
All right. Uncut Funk says, I love when my nonverbal autistic daughter laughs at my jokes.
Oh,
I'm not
yes.
really sure how much she understands, but when she laughs at the right time, I light up.
Well, it's not just about communication, verbal communication. It's about energy. And my grandson and I talk about this all the time. We talk about the energy that connects us. And so, when you're playing with your daughter, when you're interacting with your daughter, not only, she may perfectly well understand it, and she may perfectly well understand the joke. Don't underestimate that side of things, but also she's understanding your energy, because as you're telling the joke and as you're interacting with her, your energy is changing, and she's feeling that and sensing that and understanding that positively. So good for you.
Sharon says, I love being around animals. That's when I'm truly myself. It's cathartic.
Yes, I like it too.
All
Chris.
right. Jeannie says, seeing Daisy and listening to your story about how you received her reminds me of how I ended up with my little dog, Messy, a year or
Oh.
so after the death of my beloved little pug. And after saying no more dogs, my husband walks in with the ugliest and most pathetic looking dog I'd ever seen, a rescue dog that nobody wanted, and against
Okay.
all my protests, she has become the most loved of all our dogs. All you have to do is open your heart a little and everybody wins.
Oh, I love that. I think that's what a great story. Why did you call her messy? She probably would looked very messy, but Yeah, I think that's a lovely story. Keep going, Chris.
Cheryl's asking, are dark souls created that way, or do they just choose to be that way? Can love change them?
Well, I'm sure dark souls love to create havoc. I am sure dark souls love the darkness and thrive in the darkness. They are built, they are created from an energy that is dark. They will never change, there will never be anything other than dark. And I'm sure they revel in that. Is that the same as loving it? I don't know. Not sure. Chris.
Loretta's saying, in my experience, is the opposite. The love given and felt by the item or person who is told they are not attractive by others, but there is someone who tells them that they are perfect.
I don't, I'm not sure what are we saying here? I'm not sure. I don't understand that.
I'm not quite sure either. I think she's saying that if the item is ugly or whatever, if a person says to them that it is attractive or they are perfect, that's how the person will take it.
Right. Okay. All right then. Moving on.
Judith says, I love off the cuff time. I had to miss the last one, so I watched the replay. Enjoyable, but not the same as being there.
Oh well, no, but you can always come and join us. Anybody who wants can come and join us. We love off the cuff, right?
Yeah, there's absolutely a different off the wall energy to it. Anything goes.
Yeah.
Eric's wondering, how are your daffodils doing?
Um, well, some of them did not survive, but the ones that have survived are coming up very strongly, and I'm hoping for flowers fairly soon.
Rhonda says, I adopted a cat that lost all its hair. She looked so bad. I knew no one would adopt her, so I did. Turns out she's a Persian and is now absolutely beautiful. I saw the beauty in her. Love her so much.
Good job.
And
Good
Rhonda
job.
is also sending out love notes.
I love that. I love that. Good job.
Judith
Yeah, I
says, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, well, I was just thinking I tend to go for the, for the do we call them the underdog? I tend to go for the, the one that nobody else wants.
Yes.
Okay.
Judith says, speaking of laughter, it's time for another cracking up.
We're planning it. We're hoping well, we're planning it hopefully for next week, but I have to talk to my girlfriends. I have to get together with them and plan something, but we're definitely going to be doing a cracking up in February at some point. Yes. Absolutely. I'm missing it. I need a good laugh. I need to have that experience of cracking up. Chris.
Mark says, you know that my fur children are my loves. Losing Gidget was very difficult, and I know that when it is Gage's time, it will be more. This boy has attached himself to my arms and loves to be held like a child. I have
Aw.
a question for Gray Eagle. When the
Okay.
time comes, will my fur children, as they did in life, sleep at my side as Gage butts up against my leg every eve? Will they both find
I
a
would
place in my bed when I go to sleep?
I
Did,
would I would think so actually. Um I'm not sure they'll do it all the time. You know that I see my puppies on a fairly regular basis, but not every day by any means. And I'm glad for that because it means that they are busy, they are happy, they are, they are doing what they need to do. So I am glad that I think that what we should do with any loss is that we should, that for those people who we've lost, um, of course we miss them, of course we want them there all the time with us, but we also want them to be happy. So I think we have to you know, in some ways let go and say, you go for it. My wonderful and very, very good friend Luella, who passed many years ago, she had one of the toughest lives. Now, to say that to her, she probably deny it emphatically. But I could never have done what she did. I could never have. I mean, she must have been so lonely and so alone, spending years and years and years, night after night after night after night, with only her Bible, believe it or not, for company, and her books. And talk about TV, she really rarely watched television. And she, you know, when she passed, and in fact before she passed, I said to her, all I want for you is for you to find the best life, because if anyone earned it, it was her. So, you know, we have to wish our beloveds happiness and finding happiness. And if that means that they don't come and visit us, or they don't come and visit us as often as we would like, so be it, as long as they're happy. I have a feeling, though, that your little fur babies will actually probably be visiting and crawling in the bed with you from time to time. Yes. Chris.
Mark also asked for healing for his friend Michelle. She was expecting to get a ring from Max, 35 years old, who suddenly passed on Valentine's Day. He passed February 4th, and so Michelle is devastated.
Oh, my darlings, of course we'll send you healing. Of course, of course, of course.
All right. Then we have Natalie. We had a very feral cat running around our farm for several months. One day she came running up to our door. I took her in. I became very sick a week later with COVID. This cat laid on my chest and stayed with me. She went
Oh,
from completely feral to laying on my chest when I became ill.
it sounds to me like you had a little angel there just at the right time when you needed that. That's fantastic. Thanks for that, Natalie.
Loretta says, I was told I was a very ugly baby, like you
Oh,
described your doll, but you love her so much. You tell her she is beautiful. It is wonderful to have that one person who sees you that way. It's a gift and a blessing.
you know, Loretta, I think you're beautiful. I think you're beautiful on the outside as well as on the inside. But um, which would I rather be? Um, Gosh, it's tough, because I know that there are, um, you know, I did a paper round when I was 14 and a half, 15 years old. I did a paper round, and the lady who used to hand out the papers to us, she never said very much, but it was almost impossible for her to speak anyway. She'd been in she apparently she was land army, and she'd been in the land army, and the truck had blown up, and taken most of her face. She was so awfully scarred, so badly scarred. She had no ears, and she would wear a hair, sort of what hair grew, which was very sparse, and she'd wear a hat. But you know, her eyes were sockets. Now we're talking, let's say we're talking ugly, because, you know, and children can be cruel. And you know, I'm sure that she took a lot of you know, uh, pain and hurt from people who didn't understand, who, you know, maybe saw her as really, you know, ugly. But she was a really nice person, and she was really lovely inside. And I used to, you know, I was 14 and a half. What did I know? I didn't know what to say, but I always gave her a smile, and always said thank you for the papers. And I treated her with respect, and most of the other kids did too. Um, I mean, you know, when do we say what is ugly? Because this woman, uh, was so very badly scarred through no fault of her own. And there are a lot of people growing up who are badly scarred, a lot of kids who are born deformed. When do we say that they're ugly? And ugly is in the eye of the beholder. And if you have a loving heart and a kind heart, you won't see these deformed, malformed, or different people as ugly. You'll just see them as different, and they need as much, if not more, kindness than most. Chris.
Your friend Corbin says it's great to see you, Rosemary.
What?
Your flying yogi sends love.
Oh, Corbin, where have you been, my angel? Now that's a story, isn't that a story? You know, the next Saturday, that we're not here this coming Saturday, but the Saturday after, we will be telling story time. Corbin, will you allow me to tell your story with me? Because I'd love to tell that story. And oh my goodness, and how's your mum doing? And let me know what's going on with you. Come on. Where have you been in my life? So get in touch, please. Lovely to hear from you, darling.
He says he's still in South Florida.
I'm on the West Coast. Hello. Woo. Can we get together? Wouldn't that be fun? Come on, you can't be that far away, surely. I want to know what's going on. I want to know what you're up to. Keep going, Chris.
Corbin says, absolutely, she's so well. I'm flattered and glowing. And yes, he'd love to get together.
Yay, great. Well, come on then, let's get to it.
Well, we're right at time, Rosemary.
Well, that was a lovely surprise for me. I expect a love note from you, Corbin. You better get on with it now. All right. If anyone out there needs to get in touch with us, you can email Chris, Kris, at rosemaryaltea.com. Or you can email Rosemary at rosemaryaltea.com, because Chris sees to attend it, whichever way. If you want to know more about what we're up to, please go to the website, rosemary at rosemaryaltea.com. Is there anything else we need to say, Chris? We're not here.
Right. You've reminded people about Saturday that we're not here, but we may be here on Friday night.
We're hoping to be here on Friday doing an off the cuff with my darling boy, my grandson, and we're celebrating his birthday. Even though his birthday was last Saturday, we're having a second birthday in our household. I've done it since Samantha was little, because I told you that story. No birthday presents, none of that stuff. We celebrate. We have a week. It is your birthday week, and during your birthday week, so our birthday celebrations last for a week, and so on your birthday week you can pretty much not get anything you want or do anything you want, but you can pretty much have a great time. My daughter took my grandson ice skating in New York on his birthday, and then for dinner with his friends, and then they went to see the Blue Man Group. And if you're going to New York and you want to see a fun show, go to see the Blue Man Group. It's amazing. And then he had a sleepover. So tomorrow night we're all having a sleepover. He and his mum and me, we're having a sleepover, but we'll be probably doing an off the cuff, even if it only lasts for 10 or 15 minutes. So hopefully we'll see you then. We'll let you know. You'll see it popping up on your screen, or how are we going to let them know, Chris? How do you let them know?
Well, we'll pre-schedule it as soon as we know, and anybody who has subscribed to your YouTube channel and has clicked the bell, they'll get notified that we're going live.
So click the bell, go to YouTube, subscribe, click the bell, and there we will be. So all right, so thank you so much, everybody. Love to you, Corbin, especially to all of you. I shouldn't say that, sorry, but anyway, but what a surprise. Anyway, thank you all for joining us today, and I'd like to say thank you also to Chris, because you do such a great job as usual. And a special thanks to Grey Eagle, of course. So until I see you again, we should be definitely back, not this coming Saturday, but the Saturday after for story time. And if Corbin gives me permission, I can tell that great story, because it is a great story, I think, anyway. All right. So until I see you again, everybody, bye bye.